Myself, Manu Jindal, most of you know, and I'm barrister and solicitor. I'm also a lawyer in India. Presently, I'm in India. I welcome you all, and I'm really grateful that you have spared time on the weekend for your own self. Why I'm saying for your own self? Because I will be helping you in I will be helping you in achieving your. So let me say you one thing before we start with the constitutional law, because today we are holding this first class for the Canadian constitutional law. And let me be very honest to you. If you will give me your 100%, you are bound to pass. If you join my regular classes and give your 100% to me, as I have told in the group itself, then you will definitely pass. So before we start with the Canadian constitutional law, let me say you something else. NCA, I suppose most of you know, and if anybody does not know and people do have queries regarding NCA, we are here to guide you. And you are most welcome to ask me. You can DM me. You can dial me, of course, at convenient time after giving me a message on WhatsApp. Then I will be really happy to help you all. The point is, if anybody faces any issues with respect to the policy, guidelines, or informations about NCA or becoming lawyer in Canada, then I'm ready to help you because I have gone through the whole process. I completed, as far as my background goes, I'm BA Honors LLB in India. Then I completed my NCA. After completing my NCA, I became barrister and solicitor. I completed the process of Law Society of Ontario. And after completing the process of Law Society of Ontario lawyer licensing process, I was licensed in August 2021. I'm in India due to certain immigration issues. That is why I'm not continuing my practice, but I'm there to shift to Canada and start legal practice over. But teaching is my passion. That is why I'm starting these classes. Of course, we have completed two batches, two classes, and I'm really very, very happy to announce to you that whosoever attended my classes and appeared in the exam, in the respective exam, passed it. And let me say you before I start, one more thing. That one more thing is, if you give your 100%, you are bound to pass. And I never want that whosoever is my student should reappear in the exam. And and if anybody is there who is not able to pass, they surely pass. I request to all of you to mute yourself. Whenever you have any question, you can unmute yourself. So people will keep coming and I will keep on admitting them. So the point which I was telling, that if you give me your 100%, you are bound to pass. You are just to spend 2 hours a day and say for 2 months for one subject. That is how I say. Of course, I say 5 days a week. So it's a very easy job. I will make it more simpler. Let us talk about constitutional law. Constitutional law, NCA prescribes Peter Hogg's book. Mr. Hogg's book is very lengthy. Of course, he is a living icon in the Canadian constitutional law. We will make it simpler, very simpler. We will make it in few pages. If you follow those, you have proper understanding of writing in the exam, you are bound to pass. Pass marks are 50. So to achieve 50 marks is not a big job out of 100 marks. But let me say you one thing. NCA is allowing you not only books, NCA is allowing you everything in the exam. That may be your papers, your notes, your small notes, your presses. You can display everything according to your ease. So NCA just want to concentrate upon this point, that whether you can attempt the exam question. Now let us put it into technical language. Whether all of you will be studied once you appear in the exam. So they are looking for that whether you can comprehend your knowledge, whatsoever you have studied, whether you can comprehend that knowledge according to the exam question. This is the first point the NCA is looking for. The second point is whether you can incorporate case laws, whether you can incorporate the appropriate material in the given format. Further, NCA is looking for that whether you can manage the time. Of course, time management is the key to success in NCA exam. If you are very good in studies, you cannot manage the time. Of course, you are bound to lose the marks. Or there are certain persons who do fail on 45, 46, means to say that they are not able to score 50 marks. My suggestion to all of you is you have to develop your skills. That is what NCA is looking for. Of course, nowadays or times to come, NCA exam will be online. So you should have typing skills as well. Because typing, you should be typing with 10 fingers. I will be like very, very crispy answer that if you are typing with 10 fingers, you have a lot of practice, then you are bound to complete your exam. So what I'm trying to say, if you can comprehend your knowledge, you can make management of the time, you can use your knowledge as per the exam question, you're bound to pass. Of course, you should able to type the whole information into the exam. This exam is for 3 hours. There will be different sort of questions. And let me be very, very honest to you that NCA nowadays becoming strict day by day for the simple reason because there are greater parameters for analyzing the candidates. NCA wants that whosoever becomes lawyer in Canada should have competency to practice as a lawyer in Canada. So what I want to tell you all by providing this much information before I start with the Canadian Constitutional Law first class, the point which I want to say, if you have consistent aptitude for hard work, follow my instructions, do have your homework and complete your homework. It is not that you will go near the exam and grasp the concept, present them in the NCA exam. This is not going to help you. So you are to study for a longer term. Means to say you need to understand the concept, then you need to present those in exams. That is what we are. Now, before we start with this class, anybody can raise any question. I will wait for 1 minute for your questions. Then we will go ahead. If there will be any question, I'm here to like reply all. So you can unmute yourself. You can raise any question. Every question for me is a good question.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
This is Balbir Singh Chauhan. I'm speaking from Mohali.
Okay. India.
Yeah, India. So my question is whether we can take up these NC exams by living in India, or we have to get a visa to for Canada to give the exam.
No, you can I should reply in a different manner. You can give the exams while living in the comforts of your home. Your home can be anywhere in the world.
Okay, so thank you, sir. And like I'm 45 years old. I'm practicing in High Court, Punjab and Haryana High Court. So what I have gone through the researches is that it takes around about 5 to 6 years to complete. I mean the NCA courses and get the lawyer degree over there. So like NCA, if I've already for your information, I've already submitted my degrees for NCA assessment.
So you are younger to me. First thing. Second thing is that your notion is little bit misinformed. It takes I started because I never opt to give anybody else example. I always opt to give my example. I started when I was little elder to you, and then when I started, I completed the whole process of NCA up to getting the lessons in 1.5 years, provided you clear all the exam in first attempt, first, and you have a time schedule.
That's a time schedule. For I think it's 5 years. In 5 years we have to complete the NCAs.
That is the time schedule given by the NC. Once you get assessed, then it is 5 years time, 3 attempts for each exam. But as far as that, you can complete it in within 6 months, 5 months.
So is it mandatory to join any class before, I mean, after completing the NC or before giving the NC exams?
That is entirely up to you. Means to say, if you can self-prepare, various sorts of materials are available in the market. You can go through it and you can attempt the exam. But I always advise not from my professional to meet my professional ends, but I would like to advise in different way that NCA is a methodological exam. You have to articulate your answers according to the requirement of NCA exam. And for that, learning is a technique. Like I was giving about the constitutional law, many people came to me who have gone through the Peter Hawk book thoroughly. They were very studious students and they could not clear the exam just because they were not conversant with the technique of the exam. That is how I can put it.
And like as I'm a Punjabi, so the most important question is that whether after completing the NCA, can we get the immigration our immigration process?
I understand your question, but I won't go into the immigration today because we are here for NCA. That too, we can go ahead with any number of discussions, but I would like not to enter into the immigration. We can talk separately.
Fine, sir. Fine. Thank you so much, sir.
And Sia wants to say something. And may I ask, Sia, what do you want to ask? You can unmute yourself if possible. You can ask the question. Of course, I can read your question because I always want that lawyer should speak. Okay. If you do not talk. Yes, please.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir. Good evening, sir.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Actually, sir, my question is that I am also practicing in Punjab and Haryana High Court.
Okay.
And my question is, if I passed your NC exam, then we practice in India or I will practice in Canada?
Good question, but you can practice anywhere. I mean to say that you can practice in both the countries. Not simultaneously, but of course you have to choose one country. There is no bar. I mean to say I'm licensed in India. I'm a lawyer in India. I'm practicing lawyer right now. I'm doing litigating lawyer in India and I can transfer. Immigration is a separate issue. But whenever I have right to work in Canada, I can open my office. I can explore any other job options. I can be a judge. The most important point for all of your information, in Canada, there is no age bar. To become a judge, to join any job, maybe public prosecutors, maybe Crown Counsel in Canada, public prosecutor here. So you can do anything. There is no upper age limit in Canada. This is the first best point in Canada. You can practice anywhere. Means to say, once you are licensed, you can practice in India, you can practice in Canada as well.
No, sir. My question is different.
Your voice is not clear. That is why I may not be correct in understanding your question.
Okay, I may be practice for Canadian cases or Indian cases.
Sorry, ma'am, I'm not able to gather. Could you write your question? I will definitely take up.
Actually, sir, my question is that
Yes.
if I pass your NCA exam, then I can practice in India for Canadian cases, or
No,
if I live in Canada,
no, no.
then
Let me,
I can practice in Canadian cases.
of course, we are going little far from the Canadian constitutional law, but this is very, very good question. Let me say you, what is NCA? Suppose you are born or brought up in Canada, you do your LLB, means to say Bachelor of Laws degree in Canada. There it is called JD. Suppose you do law in Canada, but you migrate from any other country, from like any of the countries, 100 countries are there who are common law countries. If you migrate from any other country, then you are to come at par with Canadian legal graduate. After qualifying from NCA, once you clear NCA, you get a certificate of qualification. Once you get that certificate, means to say you have completed your NCA, then you become at par with Canadian legal graduate. Let me say you, then you would like to have law societies separate process. Of course, we can have a separate class for it, that how that procedure goes. But that is, of course, a full-fledged process for any of the law societies. Then you have to complete, then you will be licensed. I'm not going into detail because let us concentrate upon today's topic. We will be starting for Sia is wanted to ask something. Sia has written, I suppose, something in the chat.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, Sia is asking about, is there a very good question of hers, because that is very important. There will not be any handwritten exams for NCA in the times to come. If you want to become Canadian lawyer, you have to clear NCA, and if you have to clear NCA, that will be always be an online descriptive type exams. Always descriptive. Pardon? Exams will, I repeat, exams will always be descriptive type and typing, means to say online exams. But you have the comforts of sitting in your, even in your drawing room, you can appear. So that is the comfort, but typing is, of course, a little issue with many people that you will have to face. So now, I suppose enough for the day and for the questions. Let us start with the Canadian Constitutional Law. If any other question with respect to it, before I start with the Canadian Constitution Law, because we have already spent 15 minutes. Anyway, let us start with the Canadian Constitution Law. From where should I start? Should I start from the technical information, or should I am not asking. Let me say you, I will make it very, very, very easy. I will be concentrating upon those topics which are really relevant for the exams, NCA Constitution exam. Let me say you, I have posted in the group NCA syllabus for the Constitution Law. Then I have posted certain sections. Then I have posted certain questions as well. This is for all of your information. Before we start with Canadian Constitution's syllabus for the NCA, let me introduce you what is Canadian Constitution and what is the history of it. Because this is the most relevant part of our syllabus once we go to that Aboriginal people. If you have gone through Canadian Constitutional Law NCA syllabus, you might have come across two things. One thing is that you have to establish the Canadian rights and titles. And once you have to establish Aboriginal people's rights and titles, you need to know what is the history of Canadian Constitution, because we derive everything from the Canadian Constitution's history. Its Canadian Constitution is an evolutionary concept. Let me say you from the historical perspective. I will take just 2 minutes. Please listen carefully. First, Canadian land was invaded by the French people. way back in the 14th century. Once they entered into Canadian territories, they entered into agreements with the natives of Canadian land. Those natives are called the Aboriginal people. Those people till today has got various rights which are far above than any other Canadian. So French invaded Canada in 14th century. They entered into agreement, treaties with the Aboriginal people. Then Britishers saw that our neighbors, French people, has gone to a new land and set up good amount of prayers over there. Why not we invade them? Then Britisher invaded somewhere in the end of 15th century Canada. Once they invaded, there were different sort of fights between the Britishers and the French people, and most of the Canadian territories were won over by the British people. British people also entered into agreement and treaties with the Aborigines. Then they started ruling the Canadian people. Because most of the part of Canada came under the control of Britishers. King of Britain became the monarch of Canada as well. Then step by step, it came to the 19th century. 19th century saw many developments, and monarch of Britain thought it proper that Canadian people should in a way rule themselves. That is how Canadian Constitution 1867 came into being. So Canadian Constitution, which we are going to read, I have posted this bare act came into being in the year 1867. This is very important for our NCA perspective because these are the 2 years which you have to always remember. People do confuse even on the day of exam, which I never want. I'm telling you on the very first day. Being the students of Canadian Constitutional Law, you must remember that Canadian Constitution came into being in the year 1867. Why I'm saying so? There is a purposeful reason behind that. What is that? That whole of the Canadian political, administrative, ruling structure is governed by the Canadian Constitution Act 1867. And people do confuse it with the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedom. Because initially Britishers were not happy to give more rights to the Canadian people. Whosoever was living into the Canadian territories were termed to be Canadian citizens. So this is something I'm telling you to make you aware of the situations that how Canadian Constitution came into being. The Canadian Constitution saw various developments again after 1867. Of course, most of the Canadian Constitution's sections, provisions are still prevalent of the Act 1867. But in addition, I would like to use this word. In the year 1982, Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms came into being. In 1982, we are going to read 2 parts of it. One is Canadian Constitution 1867. We are going to read section 91. We are going to read section 91 to 95. Of course, division of power is one big head. And another is we are going to read charter rights. That is pertaining to the Canadian Charter of Rights 1982. Rights and freedoms, of course. Henceforth, I will be referring them to charter. When we are referring to Canadian Constitution, we are always referring to Canadian Constitution Act 1867. So in NCA exams, if we are talking about history, we are reading Aboriginals. If we are talking about Canadian Constitution 1867, we are going to read section 91 to 95. We are going to read section 35 to 45. I'm giving you brief synopsis of the things because we need to know how the Constitution of Canada can be amended. Amendment is one big part of our syllabus. So all of these are enshrined in the Canadian Constitution Act 1867. As far as charter part is concerned, that is comprising Canadian Charter of Rights 1982. Now, all are interwoven. If you go by the Canadian Constitution Act given birth to Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms, and Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedom to encompasses in it the provisions relating to the Aboriginal. Section 25, Section 35. We will be referring time and again to the Charter Section 25, 35 with respect to the Aboriginal. So I am giving you brief synopsis. Now, let us start with our syllabus after giving you brief scenario about Canadian Constitutional Law. Till time, if anybody is curious to ask a brief question or few questions, welcome, because I want that class should participate. It should not be a lecture like I'm speaking, you are listening. Of course, it will be interesting. People will be reading, then you will be understanding. We will be like attempting exam question daily. Whenever you are in the class, you mean to understand that we are attempting the NCA exam question. It is not that we are just understanding the concept. From the day one, we are attempting exam questions of NCA. How? You will come to know once the concepts in your mind will start taking the shape. About the Canadian Constitutional Law background, do you have any questions? Javita has raised hand. Javita, please go ahead if I'm pronouncing your name correctly.
Hello, sir. Yes, it's Jivita.
Jivita, sorry for the wrong pronunciation, please.
Absolutely no issues. Good evening, sir. Thank you for the session. I have this quick doubt. So I would like to know how this Canadian Constitution is different from Indian constitutional law. Yes, Indian Constitution is based up of fundamental rights, fundamental duties, directive principles of state policy. Is there a lot of similarities or it is entirely going to be different? I know this question may be too much, but in a nutshell for us to give us an idea about in what perspective we can look at the subject.
I will start from a different angle, ma'am. People from 100 jurisdictions, common law jurisdictions are going to Canada. This is something comparable study you are talking about. Since I'm an Indian lawyer, I know about both the country's laws, particularly about the constitution here. I can make a comparable charts. But the point in question, that is not relevant to our class. That is a full-fledged topic because somewhere I was giving lecture into the public. I told them that Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms have borrowed certain things from the Indian Constitution. That is, people never believed this statement, but there is something which is on the record if you go by research methodology. But I do not want to go into this discussion because it needs a complete overall 2 hours lecture. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. But you said Canadian Constitution came up in 1867 and our Constitution was 1950.
I told you, that is why I given the brief scenario, ma'am. Canadian Constitution Act came in 1867. Now I was talking about Canadian Charter, which came into being in 1982. And Canadian Charter, I written something in the book that whenever you will be reading Canadian Constitution, please do not think about India, about your home jurisdiction constitution.
Okay.
Say somebody is from Pakistan, another person is from UK, another person is from New Zealand, Australia. When I was student, in my class, people from 50 jurisdictions were there, and it is really very difficult to comprehend all the constitutions. If you go into Iran, Irish people, then of course that is a semi-common law country. People do face certain problems due to that. That is not a common law country, and NCA allows only the people from common law countries. So that is a very vast topic to discuss. I'm ready to discuss that individually. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Any other question, please? Let me say you one thing. If every question for me is a good question, why is people don't ask the questions and they face this problem in NCA exams? Because NCA is looking for a lawyer who can comprehend their knowledge. So the day you are listening me for the first day, and the day you will sit in the exam after completing my classes, after completing your book reading, you may have 50% of the exam from the first class itself. And on that day, you may try to visualize the scenario, what I am trying to tell you today. So let me come back to where I was. I was at one point. I have given you the brief synopsis of coming into being of the Canadian Constitution Act. So please, I request you, you are to appear in this Canadian Constitutional Law in NCA. You are to appear in Foundation Law. I have a second class tomorrow of the Foundation Law. You are to appear in Administrative Law. 3 will talk about Canadian Constitution. 1867, 19. So please don't forget that Canadian Constitution Act 1867, we need to remember section 91, 92, 93, 95, and then we need to know section 38, 36, 37, 38, 40, 41, 42, 45. Why I'm saying numbers time and again? Because you should memorize these things from the day one. If you will have crystal clear in mind, then you will be good to attempt the exam, because on the last day or during the classes, I may not be able to repeat all these things. Now coming to the Canadian Charter section, of course, I'm going to give you some things to jot down today. And you need to write down something because those will always be beneficial. Now let us start the class. I suppose fourth time I'm saying, let us start the class. Haven't I started? No. I have started the moment I start speaking. The point is, you should always think that the information which is coming to you is coming as a fresh information. You have to grasp that information into your brain and take it to your NCA exam. I will be time and again talking about NCA exams because I have a bird eye approach. Bird eye approach is that you are reading just not for academic purposes. You are reading for appearing and clearing one exam, which is called NCA Constitutional Law exam, Canadian Constitutional Law exam. So again, I should repeat that Canadian Constitutional Law exam. Let me say you, it has 2 parts. Please, all of you may be having pen and paper, please jot down. One is known as Canadian Charter of Rights 1982. This will be consisting in your exam from 35 marks to 50 marks anywhere. Minimum 35 marks exam will be from Canadian Charter of Rights, which we are going to study today. We are going to make a framework today itself. Then rest of the 50% exam, we are talking about 70 to 85% of it. Kindly jot down Canadian Charter of Rights, 35 to 55% marks. Same is 35 to 50%, 55% of the marks, division of powers, which comes from the 1867. This much importance it carries. I told you methodology, technique, articulation. These are the important words to attempt NCA exams. So let us be crystal clear. Canadian Charter of Rights, 35 to 55 marks. Division of powers, 35 to 55 marks. Total of 70 to 85% of marks, somewhere around it. Of course, rest is the original, different concepts, which we are going to study during the course of our syllabus. Now, let us concentrate first upon Canadian Charter of Rights. Section 32. Please write in order which I am telling. Section 32. Then comes the Section 2A. Freedom of religion. Section 32, I forgot to tell applicability of the charter. Section 32, applicability of the charter. Section 2A, freedom of religion. Section 2B, freedom of expression. I am putting everything in very simple words. If you will jot down and remember, it will be very easy for all of you people to understand. And by the time we will complete, you will start thinking that we have just started. Section 7, right to life, liberty, and security. Section 15, right to equality. And lastly comes the Section 1. What is Section 1? Justification. Before we jump into every section and why we are reading into this section, let us read the bare provisions of Canadian Constitution, Charter of Rights, 1982. Sections we will be reading in the order in which we have just written. Section 32, Section 2A, Section 2B, Section 7, Section 15.1, 15.2, Section 15 means to say, then Section 1. First, now let us make compartmentalization. Because it's always better in your brain if you have got compartmentalization of information. Make one compartment, Section 32. Number 1. You can call it as room number 1, compartment number 1. Let us name it. Can anybody suggest me what can be the best name we can give? Room, compartment, or something else? Any new name? Synonym of room or compartment.
The chamber.
Oh, Sindar, good. Sindar is an old student. Chamber. Let us name. Anybody has any other thing to say? Chamber, room, compartment. Because these are going to go long, let me say. That is why I'm taking 1 or 1.5 minutes on naming it.
Schedule.
I take it, but little not relevant. You will realize, ma'am. Sorry for that.
Okay.
Then any other suggestion, please? Dimple wanted to say something.
Maybe pigeonhole, sir.
That is going too far. Something
because we have to remember so many things.
Okay, pigeonhole. Okay, this is again going at parallel with schedule, but I'm really very happy. If everybody is sleeping, no? If everybody is sleeping, then there is no fun of teaching. If everybody is well awake, then it's really, really like once you have the grasping of the concepts in the true spirit, in a lighter way, then of course you are going to attempt the exam in a moment. You have a flash of your exam, you know, I know this thing. Second question I know, third question I know, fourth question I know. NCA exam is done. Half the battle or 80% of the battle is won in the first 2 minutes. I saw my barrister exam. I thought it was super duper tough. And I thought I cannot do it. For 2 minutes, I was thinking whether to attempt it or not. And on the end of the exam, I was 96% right. In my barrister exam, has got after second stepping stone to become the lawyer of Canada. Just taking here and there, let us name it. Let us stick to old name because I do not want to enter into controversy. Let us take it as room. ROOM. Room 1 is section 22. Chamber is against under good. Schedule is good. Pigeonhole is good. Everything is good. But let us take it as room. Because I will be shifting my speaking arena time and again. Now comes the room number 2. Section 2A, 2B, section 7, section 15, room number 2. Now, 3 rooms, not more than 3. Third room, 1 room, second room, third. Section 1. Room number 1, section 32, room number 2, section 2A, 2B, 7, 15. Good, good. Section 1, room number 3. Now, rule for our classes, we are to go in order. We will first go to room number 1, then to room number 2, then to room number 3. Sorry. Please, whatsoever I am saying, please jot it down. It will be really very helpful. Now, I'm going to give you hints. Let us go to room number 1. Section 32, applicability of the charter. Now, question is whether charter applies. What it means. We are talking about Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedom. First of all, we must know whether it is applicable or not. The second question comes in our mind, applicable on whom? Given set of circumstances, the action taken by the government, whether now you need to write down section 32, whether charter applies to the body. Two marks are fixed. Once you answer this question, charter applies to the body. Of course, there is a methodology how to write the exam. Let us not go to room number 2. Let us stop here for a while and discuss how we need to attempt the exam. How we need to attempt the NCA exam. It's an IRAC formula. IRAC. Write down I issue, R rule, A application, C conclusion. You have to name it. Issue, rule, application, and conclusion. IRAC. Once you have IRAC in mind, you will always, anywhere, maybe administrative law exam, maybe Canadian Constitutional Law exam, maybe Canadian Criminal Law exam. Every step has got marks. Suppose you are writing wrong, 100% wrong. Even then you may get 70 to 80% of the question marks. Why so? Because you have identified the issues, then you have identified the rule, then you have identified the application part of that and attempted that, of course. Then you reached attitude. And conclusion never matters. Most of the countries, conclusion do matters. But NCA is looking for your attempt of the exam. So marks are distributed on every step. So it's the formula of IRAC, issue, rule, application, conclusion for 3 exams. Please, please, please do not confuse it. Once you are attempting the exam of foundation or professional responsibility, there my talks will be altogether different. I will be saying something else. But as far as 3 exams are concerned, issue, rule, application, conclusion. Now let us talk about whatsoever I am telling you. I am telling you the issues. We are in the room number 1. We are in the charter question. Charter question. Charter question means to say whether charter applies to the body. Section 32. Who can be the body? Federal government can be the body. Provincial government can be the body. Municipality can be the body. Police officer can be the body. Hospital can be the body. University can be the body. Whether private bodies are included? No. Then whether charter is applicable? Yes. Body is not included. Private bodies are not included into the definition of body. Then how charter is applicable? We are saying as per the section 32 that charter is applicable on body. Whether the charter applies to the body. If it is a private body, that is a different methodology. We are going to learn it. Whether charter applicable to the body. Very important question. I have given you the instances. Now let us go to the section 2A, freedom of religion. Again, the issue remains the same. Whether, what right? Suppose you are in room number 1. Now you have to go to the room number 2. What you are looking for? What do you want? In the first room, you went and concluded that charter applies to the body. You have to identify the body and write down in a particular formula of issue, rule, application, conclusion. You concluded that charter applies to the body, this body. Anybody. We will read it out. Then we will go to the room number 1, room number 2, or room number 3. Anybody can help me? We will go to room number 2 or 3.
3.
3. I told you one rule. You forgot. 2. The rule is we are not to, we are go to by numbers. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Once you are good with 1, then only you can go with to room number 2. Once you are okay with room number 2, then you will go to room number 3. For Stinder, it's chamber number 1, chamber number 2, chamber number 3. I forgot the names of somebody. Schedule 1, schedule 2, schedule 3. For Dimple, I remember your name. Like it's pigeonhole number 1, pigeonhole number 2, pigeonhole number 3. I'm just trying to make you memorize certain things because these are the basis of attempting the NCA exams. Why I'm saying time and again NCA exams? Because we need to have a bird eye approach. Now let us talk about room number 2. What right has been infringed by the body? What we are looking in room number 2? What right has been infringed by the body? Whether it is freedom of religion which has been infringed, whether it is freedom of expression which has been infringed, whether it is life, liberty, or security which has been infringed or intruded, invaded, I would use this word, go to the extent of using this word, or whether my equality right to equality has been infringed by the body. So in room number 2, we will be looking for what right has been infringed. Now, okay, we know that this right has been infringed. Let us go to, we have done with room number 2, concluded. Don't think that this is all. We are to read many things. I will be providing you IREC notes as well. And here we are making big structure. It is not there. We should have a plinth, then have walls, structure upon that, beam, structures. Once structure is complete, then we will go for interiors. We will have good interiors. So let us go to room number 3. We return justification. We told that body to whom the charter applies infringed upon my rights. Any rights which we just discussed. Whether the government has got right to infringe that, whether the infringement of the right is justified. In room number 1, I identified that government infringed my rights, university infringed my rights, hospital infringed my rights, municipality infringed my rights, police officer infringed my rights. What right I saw in room number 2. In room number 3, we need to see whether government was competent to infringe. How we need to see? As per the Canadian Constitution Act 1867. Yes, good. We need to see as per the Canadian Constitution Act 1867. Am I right? I may be wrong. Anybody can raise it. Everybody is well awake or sleeping.
So maybe charter rights. 1982.
Yes, that is what I was looking for. It is not per the Canadian Constitution Act 1867. It is the Canadian Charter of Rights 1982. I told you in the very beginning, whatsoever information is going, you need to keep it in your mind, or you can jot down on in your copies. Every word spoken by me has got meaning on the day of your NCA exams. Why I'm keeping a different sort of methodology, so that it may not be a burdensome for all of you people. So now we have known that whether the government is justified in infringing my rights. Say the government is not justified, then the action of government should be struck down. I have told you only 3 rooms. Now I'm talking about something else. We have gone to room number 1, 2, 3. Now something else is there. Say the government infringement of my right was not justified. Then what is the remedy available? What is the remedy available? We call it as charter remedy. Let us extend one thing. Room number 4. Why I never given you in the first instance room number 4? Because it comes into picture if the law is not justified. Action of the body is not justified. If it is justified, infringement is justified, then there is no need of going into the room number. Remedial part will come into picture only when the government infringement, body's infringement of your charter right is not justified. Then comes the remedial. Now, if the structure is clear to all of you, let us move further. I will be very fast in moving, but we will be solving exam questions daily in our class. I told you in the first instance. And let me say you one thing very clearly, that if you will bypass class rules, then you are bound to lose the marks. You need to go to room number 1, 2, 3. If need arises, then go to room number 4. But we are talking about charter rights. And I told you in the first instance, if you do this much, at least one third of your exam is done. So we have made a structure for your 1/3 exam. Now, with this 1/3 structure of your exam, with proper understanding, let us go to fair reading of the, anybody who would volunteer, because I have already posted sections. Somebody would read and I would interpret. This is something how we do it in previous classes. If anybody has got better methodology, I would welcome it. But any volunteer to read it?
So I can read.
Okay. Stinder, I suppose it's your voice?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Can you do it for me, please?
Sure, sir. So should I start from room number 1?
Yes. You're good. You're good. Why you are good? Because now it seems that I'm little good. Why I'm little good? Because once I'm comfortable with this thing, I'm also looking for my copy of because I don't remember the language. I don't need to remember the language. Sindar, would you read which section room number
So
1 you have?
32.
32?
32.
Okay. But it is in the last. Why you are going in the first instance? Why you are not reading section 1?
So because we have to go according to the rooms. First, I will enter to the room number 1.
That's very good of you. Okay. Now go to the room number 1. Let us read
Room
section
number 1. Section 32, clause 1. This charter applies A. To the Parliament and Government of Canada in respect to all matters within the authority of Parliament, including all matters relating to the Yukon Territory and Northwest Territories, and B.
Just stop, please. We are to. These are our 35 marks, Satinder. So we need to go very slowly. We cannot afford to leave these marks. Leave these marks if we need to clear this exam. So the very first step, we need to read section 32(1). Now there will be peculiar words like Yukon Territory, Northwest Territories. People who are in Canada may be very comfortable with it, but people who are less conversant with Canadian geographical structure, I recommend them should go to the Canadian geographical structure. They should know. For their brief information, I am telling you, Canada has got 10 provinces, 3 territories. 1 territory is Yukon Territory. So 10 provinces, in provinces equivalent to state in our, like in India or in most of the countries in United Nations as well, United States as well. Big part of area is called states. So in Canada, these are called provinces. In Canada, there are 10 provinces, 3 territories. So once we are good with this information, geographical little bit, we should have what is in the northern side, what is in the southern side, then we will be little good in understanding the terminology used in the Canadian Constitution or elsewhere, because we are now in the process of becoming Canadian lawyers. Once you are to deal with Canadian clients, means to say you should be well conversant with the Canadian geographical structure. Of course, we will be coming time and again that how those structures works, but for the purpose here for the day, we need to know that how the Canadian government goes. There is a federal structure, division of powers. Second part is division of powers. Division of powers will come into play, means to they say that one is federal government, which is government throughout the country, has control over certain matters in whole of the Canadian territories. But there are government at the provincial levels. Provincial level governments are capable of deciding many of the provincial matters, state matters, we can call it as. So Both are elected governments, federal government as well as provincial government. So we are here talking about to the Parliament and the Government of Canada in respect of all matters within the authority of Parliament, including all matters relating to the Yukon Territory and Northwest Territories, because those territories were included at a later point of time. So that is why there is a special mention of that. Let us read B.
B. To the legislature and government of each province in respect of all matters within the authority of the legislature of each province.
Now, whenever you need to read each word very carefully. Same should be when we are reading in the class, same should be when you will be reading in the exam, because reading is the key to success. So, to the legislature and government of each province in respect of all matters within the authority of the legislature of each province. Federal government, state government, provincial government. Of course, we are going to read how everything comes into play. Now, exception is?
Exception, clause 2, notwithstanding subsection 1, section 15, shall not have effect until 3 years after the section comes into force.
So that time has gone. We are not concentrating upon these exceptions. Once we will go to section 15.1 in the room number 2, we will be having little reference to that. We will see what can be done. But for the time being, the charter applies to all the organs of the federal government and all the organs of the provincial government. This is room number 1. Let us go to room number 2. Read out section.
Section 2.
2A.
Section 2A. 2A.
We have to differentiate. Why we need to differentiate? I'm talking to all of you. We need to differentiate because these are the words which will be cornerstones of our attempting the exam question. Once we pick up the wrong stone, fixed it at a wrong place, we will be going nowhere. But if we have picked the right stone, fixed that stone at a right place, then we will be going in the right direction. Because few words are there. Section 2A.
Section 2A, freedom of conscience and religion.
Concise and please. You all, me, you all have the right. Me has got the right of freedom of concise and please. Canada is a multilingual, multicultural, multi-religious society. I suppose you all know, still I am informing you. Canada is a multi-language, multicultural, multi-religious, multi-ethnic groups country, because people from all over the world has come to Canada and got settled. Why not? I am concentrating upon the Constitution. Why I am going here and there time and again. Let me say you, if you will use my methodology of remembering the things in a day-to-day perspective of your life, then it will be very easy, not only for the NCA exam. First time saying you, when you will be practicing in Canada, you will be remembering my words. Because whenever a client approaches you, he will approach with his or her own problem. And there you need to recall the information which you have gathered. Let me say you one thing else as well. You were not born or brought up in Canada. That is why it is little or much more challenging for all of you. You may be coming from India, you may be going from India, you may be going from Pakistan, you may be going from Bangladesh, you may be going from Nigeria, you may be going from Ireland, you may be going from UK, anywhere. The same problem, because you need to have the feel of the fabric. So words are very simple. Five words are there. Everyone has the following fundamental freedoms. freedom of conscience and religion. These are the exact word written in the Canadian Rights of Charter and Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedom. So the whole story will revolve around. Please, 2B, please.
Section 2B, freedom of thought,
No,
belief.
please read first. Everyone has the following fundamental.
Section 2B, everyone has the following fundamental freedoms.
Sindar, you also have, me also. Everyone has. In Canada, let me say you one thing. Everyone means everyone. If you are a thief, you have the same rights. If you are a wrongdoer, you have the same rights. If you are an offender, you have the same rights. If you are a law-abiding citizen, you have the same rights. From where comes those rights? From here comes those rights. Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. We told that everybody has got freedom of conscience and religion. That's all. Canada may be consisting of 200 religions. We will be studying about Jehovah's Witnesses. We will be studying about Jews. We will be studying about Hindus. We will be studying about Muslim. We will be talking about Parsis. We will be talking about so many people, so many laws, so many different ethnicities. So what I'm trying to say, you need to concentrate upon the concept that everyone has, maybe in any circumstances, in any scenario. These are the rights. Now read out B, please.
Section 2B, everybody has following fundamental freedoms. Freedom of thought, belief, opinion and expression, including freedom of the press and other media of communication.
Please, please, please don't think about your home jurisdictions. Why? This is a piece of warning I am bringing time and again, because you may have different concepts in your mind, which you have to keep aside and you have to go to the Canadian concepts. Now we are talking about freedom of thought. I told you in the very beginning, there is no upper age limit. You can think of becoming a doctor at the age of 60. You can practice any religion, belief. You can have your own opinion. Today, I am a good person for you. I am teaching you Canadian Constitutional Law. Tomorrow, I do a bad act and I may be a bad person for you. You can make your own opinion. You may express your own opinions. Why I'm stressing on all these? Because when the examiner will be giving you questions, he will be having Canadian conception in his mind. Once you are ready to catch that Canadian conception from the examiner's words, you will be really prepared to reply to those expressions. Why students fail in NCA exam? Because they carry with them their own notions. That is what we need to leave. Freedom of thought, belief, opinion, expression, including freedom of press and other media of communication. But you have also freedom. I also have freedom. I need to respect your freedom. You need to respect my freedom. I may not be willing to welcome you at my home. So you need to ask me, may I come to your home today? Otherwise, if the temperature will be minus 35, you cannot wait for a half a minute outside my home. That can be another peculiar circumstance. So everybody's freedom needs to be respected, maybe by way of compulsion or maybe by way of circumstances, but everybody has got the freedom. I'm stressing upon because the examiner will be giving you a scenario. You need to bring from that scenario what right has been infringed. That is what I made you to write once we were in room number 2. Let us read section 7 now.
Section 7. Everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of the person, and the right not to be deprived thereof except in accordance with the principles of fundamental justice.
Life, liberty, security. That is what I told you. What is life, liberty, security? I'm looking for my life, liberty, security. What is life? See, words are important. If you go to time and again into the whole of it, everyone has the right to life, liberty, and security of the person, and right not to be deprived except in accordance with the principles of fundamental justice. You can be deprived of those rights, life, liberty, or security, but let us understand what is life. Kindly write down what is life. Once you know that what is life, then we will be able to interpret this section very purely. Once we will go to that. Right to have a life of one's person. There shouldn't be any risk to my health or to my life. That is called as a life. Suppose I have a significant risk to my health by way of an action of a government, then whether my life right is infringed or not, it is. So if I am to protect my right to life, there shouldn't be any action of the government by which there should be a significant risk to my life or health. If there will be risk to my life, risk to my health, then of course there will be risk to my life. If I will be put behind the bars and I do not have any right, then of course my life is endangered. No. Second example which I given is of liberty. Now let us talk is of liberty. What is liberty? Liberty is physical liberty. You can go from anywhere to any place. Physical liberty can be curtailed. Of course, there should be certain set principles upon the basis of which one's liberty can be curtailed. So you must know that we are talking about the physical liberty. Now comes a security. Otherwise, these terms becomes the vague terms. We need to understand that whether our life is endangered, whether our liberty is endangered, or our security is endangered. What is security? Mental, psychological, physical, anything. If we are talking about criminal law, we are talking about like our security by any act of third person which is harmful to us, once we are talking about criminal law. But if we are talking about psychological stress, then government can put our psyche into, our psyche can be endangered by the government by any order or by anything. Why I get stopped while speaking in between? Because I do not want to get into details right away. Now let us read lastly, section 15.
Section 15, clause 1. Every individual is equal before and under the law and has the right to the equal protection and equal benefit of the law without discrimination, and in particular, without discrimination based on race, national or ethnic origin, color, religion, sex, age, or mental or physical disability.
Ooh, many things. Many more needs to come. There are two terms which you should write down in section 15. One is section 15. There are two types of things which we need to write. One is enumerated. Enumerated grounds. You can use listed grounds. Enumerated or listed grounds, which has been given in the Constitution itself. Second comes the analogous grounds, which comes from the common laws. I have used the word common law time and again. Anybody can enlighten me on this term, common law country or common law? Not Stinder, you, please somebody else, because you have read in, I know anybody might have read in other subjects, but in foundation, people do have read, in administration law, people do might have read. What is a common law country? Or what is common law? Please be free. If you make an error while speaking, don't hesitate, because error made here will not go into your exam. Rather, that will be clarified. Common law country is that country, or common law is that law which comes from the case laws. Case laws means to say cases decided by the Supreme Court of Canada or by the appellate courts of Canada. I have posted one like structure of Canadian courts. I myself have forgotten what is the structure of Canadian. Why so? Because I written over there, if you try to remember it in two ways. If you try to remember it in the way you are in your home country, then you will always be confused. Why so? Because you will be trying to correlate every strata of court with your own courts. Whereas you need to remember Canadian courts in their own perspective. I could not find where I posted. Let me see. Okay, I could able to find. Supreme Court of Canada, Provincial Courts of Appeal, Federal Court of Appeal, Federal Courts, Provincial Territorial Superior Courts, Provincial Territorial Courts. I am reading from the chart, from my mobile, of course. What I am trying to say, I remember all these because we have to go once we become the lawyers over there from one court to another court, another court to another court. Supreme Court of Canada is in Ottawa. Another course is in Toronto. If we are talking about Ontario, if we are talking about British Columbia, different courts are at different places. But Supreme Court of Canada is at one place. We were talking about common law. Common law is the law given by the case laws. Case laws are, suppose Supreme Court or Provincial Court of Appeal or Federal Court of Appeal decides a case and anything comes out of that, then that is the law derived from the common laws. And any country which is following the common laws is known as a common law. India is a common law country, UK is a common law country, Pakistan is a common law country, Bangladesh is a common law country, Iran, Iraq is a common law country, no. Civil law countries, France is a civil law country where common laws are not being followed. But in some parts of Iran is somewhere semi-common law country. So Canada is a common law country. So here we were at section number 15. Section number 15 is talking about two types of grounds upon which right to equality is based. One are enumerated or listed grounds. We are here to write enumerated and listed. Kindly write down enumerated, listed grounds because you need to identify in the exam. One is race. I'm reading. One is race. You can write down. It will be in your interest. Second is nationality. Third is ethnic origin. Fourth is color. Fifth is religion. Sixth is sex. Seventh is age. Eighth is mental or physical disability. So everybody has got right to equality based on enumerated or listed grounds. Now, let us write down analogous grounds. What are the analogous grounds? Those grounds which come from the common laws. Citizenship, marital status, sexual orientation. Third is sexual orientation. Fourth is aboriginality, residence. Aboriginality, residence. Now it seems that the class has started. At last, we are allowed to write something. Good. Okay. Enumerated listed grounds in section 15 are how many? 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 4 are analogous grounds. Citizenship, marital status, sexual orientation, aboriginality, residence. Somebody, I really transpires only. Somebody told me that third of the analogous ground has been left out, that is sexual orientation. Please write down. Good. This is section 15.1. Still section 15.2 is left out. Let us read it.
Section 15, Clause 2. Subsection 1 does not preclude any law, program, or activity that has as its object the amelioration of conditions of disadvantaged individuals or groups, including those that are disadvantaged because of race, national, or ethnic origin, color, religion, sex, age, or mental or physical disability.
Okay, thank you. So whenever you need to add up, you need to add up those 4 analogous grounds in section 15.2 as well. What section 15.2 says, once we go into the depth of the analysis of section 15.2, we will be definitely understanding. Now comes where we were, we are lost somewhere. Room number?
Remedial part.
No, ma'am. Remedial
room
part.
number 2.
Room number 2. I was at room number 2. I do not know any. Sorry, there are so many people. How many people are there? Just let me have a look at. Just a moment, please. How many participants? 19 participants have been left out. At one point of time, 24 were there. Anyway, what I'm trying to see is that you may be anywhere. I was in. I was good at room. Now I do not want to break the rules. I will go to room. Charter applies to the body. Body has infringed my rights, any of my rights. In room number 2, now I will go to room 3 and see whether that infringement of my right is justified or not. Where I will go? Stendar, what you need to write? Section 1. Section 1 we needed to write. Read first. No. In order I do. Let us read section 1.
Section 1. The Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms guarantees the rights and freedoms set out in it, subject only to such reasonable limits prescribed by law as can be demonstrably justified in a free and democratic society.
You have your own right. I have my own right. Government cannot do anything. Do whatever you want to do whatever I want to do. And where the country will go, nobody is bothered. Is it the same? No. Government can put restriction. Those restrictions can be justified under section 1. Once we go into detail that how those restrictions can be justified, we will see to that. If you want to write down something, I can make you to write down something that how the, because that will be little useful to you at this point of time. You will be coming to know that whether the government is doing the right thing or not. If government has already done, infringed my right, only then we are going to rule number 3. Then the government should say that we have sufficient important objective. We have infringed your right, but that infringement comes with sufficient important objective. Write down, please. In section 1, rule number 3, we need to write down sufficient important objective. If there is sufficient important objective because of which one's right has been infringed, any of the right, then that should be rationally connected to the objective. Second is rationally connected to the objective. First is important objective of the government should be there. I will give you one instance. I will talk about Muslim women who wear burqa and do not show any part of their body in the public. So they have got their religious right. Their religion allows them to wear burqa and do not show any part of their body to the public. Government brings a law at the time of voting, whereby the government says that if any Muslim woman wants to vote, then she will have to produce her identity card, photo identity card, and show her face. For the purpose of showing her face, she needs to pick up the curtain from his face. Now, who has passed the order? The body. Government, say provincial government has passed. What right has been infringed? My religious right. Muslim woman is saying that I won't show my face, but I want to vote. Government has said if you want to vote, you have to produce your photo identity card. For production of photo identity card is not a problem, but problem arose when she was asked to uncover her face and show it to the designated person on the polling booth. She says that my religious right has been infringed. Now, say for the sake of argument, she do not wants to uncover her face. Whether her identity can be established? Answer is no. So once we go to room number 1, okay, government made the law, charter is applicable. She has got the right. What right have been infringed?
So religion, freedom of religion.
Freedom of religion, section 2A. Now government says that we are justified. If she wants uncover her face, how she will establish her identity, which is essential for the purpose of casting her vote. It seems reasonable. It seems logical. It seems good. But she's also justified that her right of religious freedom has been, under section 2A, has been infringed. Then the government has to go to the court and reply under section 1 that the whatsoever restriction has been put, whatsoever infringement has been made on the religious freedom of the Muslim woman, that is a reasonable limit or demonstrably justified. We have just read demonstrably justified. First point we have written, I have given you one logical example. Of course, we need to read the case laws according to that. First is sufficient important objective. What is the important objective? To establish the identity for the purpose of casting the vote. Once we are to know the sufficient important objective of the government wants to establish the identity of the Muslim woman who wants to cast. Now, second, we have written rationally connected to the objective. Objective is to establish the identity of Muslim women. Whether that important objective is connected rationally, yes. If she won't uncover her face, how she will establish her identity? Am I right? Now, write down third. Least drastic means have been used. Whether the government has asked her to take out her burqa, long suit which she is wearing, long black cloth which she is wearing, has the government, if the government has asked that whenever you are to leave your home, you cannot wear burqa, then that would not have been the right thing. Least drastic means, third point, which the government needs to prove is, first is sufficient important objective. Objective is that the identity should be established. Rationally connected, uncover the face, only then the identity will be established. Least drastic means the government has told just to uncover the face, not all the times, just at the time when she is to show her photo identity card to the designated officer at the polling booth. Least drastic means. Fourth, write down kindly, proportionate effect. It means that only that much should have been asked, which is necessary. Only that much, not little more, not little less. That much. Proportionate. She has not been asked to uncover her face during the whole process of casting her vote. Good. Government is justified. He has used, in this case, sufficient important objective is there. Of course, the infringement of right was there, but sufficient important objective is there, which is rationally connected to the objective. Least drastic means have been used, which have got a proportionate effect. She has just been asked to uncover her face before the designated officer at the time of showing her identity, photo identity card for the purpose of casting her vote. The only objective is to establish her identity so that there should not be counterfeit polling. Law is justified. We will not go to room number. Bye-bye. That is why I told you. 1, 2, 3. Say for the sake of argument, I will just change one line out of this, as examiner generally does. From the example, once she enters into the polling booth, she will have to uncover her face till she comes out of the polling booth. Okay, now least drastic means have not been used. It do not have proportionate effect. You have to write down in the exam, friends, whether important objective is there. She needs to establish her identity in the polling booth, but this is not at the appropriate time to establish her identity. And general order has been passed by the government that she is to uncover her face when she will be entering into the polling booth. then her right has been infringed and which is not justified, then we will go to number 4, which is remedial measure. Then what will be the remedial measure? Should the whole provision be struck down? Should the whole law be cancelled? No. Only that part will be cancelled. Reading in, reading out. Reading down, reading up. What I am trying to say you, once we will go into the remedial measures, we will definitely study that what should have been done. What is the remedy available with the government? What is the remedy available with the courts? Courts are not going to say that the government objective is false. Government wants to get establish the identity of Muslim women. So let us be very clear that if right is infringed, which is not justified, then the law can be struck down, law can be amended. Court can order for striking down few words, few lines from a particular act or order. So what I'm trying to say is whole charter rights have been done. If you understand the whole concept, whole charter right has been. Once you will be in my regular class, you will feel that I will justify my words that your 1/3 exam was conceptually completed in first class. So that is why I say you, if you have got the overview of Canadian Constitution, accompanied by 1/3 of your exam, if you go on reading 100 pages of Peter Hawke books, not 100, 150 pages, more than 150 pages, and do not put the right things in the exam, then whether you are able to score the marks, the answer is no. If you have ready-made material with you, you do not know how to use it, you do not know how to look for the body, you do not know what right has been infringed, whether the government is justified in infringing the rights. If the government is not justified, what sort of remedial measure is required, in what sort of room we need to go, that we will come to know the importance once we go into the examination hall. We still use the same terminology. We never go to the examination hall in these days. Where we go to our dining table where we put our laptop. No, dining table is an open area. Means to say, in a closed room, once you will be watched by 2 cameras. One is of your laptop, another is of your mobile. And your laptop is technically locked, except for exam purposes. In that atmosphere, in a closed room where interference of no other person is there, you will be able to appear. So let us call it as once you will approach your laptop, you will feel good that we know how to identify each and every point and how to present them in NCA. So we have formulated a policy, we have formulated a methodology which is really helpful for all of you in this. Now I am doing marketing. Last 2 or 3 lines pertains to my marketing. We, in our professional responsibilities, it is my humble duty bestowed upon me by Law Society Professional Code that I should inform my client what I am doing. That is what I am submitting to all of you. Let us conclude today's class. Before departing, let me say you a few things before I take up your question. That is why I have kept 10 minutes at my disposal. 2 minutes I will take, then 8 minutes will be any questions to be raised by you. 2 minutes I will be telling you that this was your first Canadian Constitutional Law class. in which I have tried to explain you Canadian Charter of Rights question to be attempted in NCA exams. I have made a structure in our coming classes, 2 or 3 classes in which we will be completing. We will be reading different questions, which I have already posted it in your group. Henceforth, this group will continue, but my regular students, different group will be formed, which and link for the next class will be posted in that group. Whosoever wants to enroll for my whole of the Canadian Constitutional Law class, my fee for the same is Canadian $350 for the entire class of Canadian Constitutional Law, one subject. I will be charging this Canadian $350 until you pass. I will be providing you my instructions, coaching means to say online. And of course, I will be providing you written material in the form of notes. You are not authorized to copy that material, but you can definitely use that material in the exam. If you copy and NCA comes to know that you have copied material, they can debar you from that exam. So you can use that material intelligently into your exams, which I will be providing for the purpose of writing the constitutional law NCA exams. And God forbids you fail. My responsibility of coaching you is until you pass. And on the top of that, I will be giving you my precious time of one-to-one consultations if God forbids you fail. So this amount I will be charging. And last thing which I would like to say, I never want any student of mine should join my batch again. Why so? I want that every student should attempt the exam in first attempt and get pass. Whosoever have to coaching of different subjects from me were pass. Earlier it was free of cost. Then I started professionally. So everybody is passed till time. And of course, few failure do come to me. I try my level best to clear their all doubts and so that they may pass. You have got 3 attempts to write an exam in NCA. So I will the word used by me until you pass means that if you fail in your first or second attempt, I will be bound up to the 3rd attempt. But I never want that you should make a second attempt. That's all from my side. Now you can raise any of your question with respect to my coaching, with respect to constitutional law, whatsoever we have studied today, or else. Thank you. Now stage is yours. You can ask any number of questions.
How many subjects we have to go for NCA?
5 subjects minimum. There are 8 core subjects with NCA. 5 are Canadian Constitutional Law, Canadian Administrative Law, Canadian Criminal Law, Foundations of Canadian Law, Professional Responsibility. These are the 5 exams which any person migrating from any jurisdiction, common law jurisdiction, have to attempt. 5 are minimum.
And what is the relevancy of the NCA assessment? I mean, after once the assessment has been done, then we'll come to know about how many papers we have to give.
Yes. Apart from that, exams you have to now undergo from January 1, 2022. You have to attempt a legal research and legal writing online course for 8 weeks, in which you need to write assignments.
And your fees for Canadian Constitution is $350. And what about the other subjects? Are you taking other subjects also?
Other subjects, I will be keep on telling. Generally, it is the same. Generally, it is the same. But I'm not taking any other classes. I'm starting with 2 classes, like Canadian Constitution and Foundation. We keep it targeted, like we keep it for the purpose of these classes are aimed to attempt January exams, January 2023, because if you go to the website of NCA, you will find a schedule over there. And according to that schedule, you need to attempt Canadian Constitution and Foundation either in October or in January. In December, there are no exams. So it is a quarterly process otherwise.
And how much time does NCA take to make the assessment?
Once your documents are completed, 8 weeks as written by the NCA.
8 weeks.
Once your documents are completed in your account, reached NCA and uploaded in your account.
Thank you, sir.
Please go ahead with any other question. Today's class, NCA, anything else? You all are very good. You have been so good that you heard me patiently. If I had committed any error, you are most welcome to point out to me personally. I hope I haven't offended anybody. Still, if I had, I'm really very sorry for that. And you all are very nice. You have given me your valuable time. So you are welcome to contact me and become my regular students for the purpose of Canadian Constitutional Law. We will be having 10 to 13 classes of Canadian Constitutional Law for the purpose of these exams. Thank you very much. Anybody has got any other question before I say before I do sign off? Thank you very much. Take very good care of you and do make habit of reading. That is my piece of advice for the day. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All are welcome. All are welcome.
Thanks a lot. It was motivational and well explained.
Thank you very much. Okay, bye-bye to all of you.